What if I told you that everything you believe to be true about Jim Jones and Chrissy is actually a complete lie? You heard me correctly. What if I told you that Camron, yes, the same Camron that we all know, ran into that courtroom and tore apart their idyllic little world in a single motion? You won't believe the secrets he just revealed, I promise. But here's the twist. Jim Jones, whom we all believed in the world, he stood there vulnerable as the walls around him collapsed, and Chrissy, whom you won't even recognize, believed she could get away with it. Do you still believe that Chrissy was the mastermind behind all of this? Do you really believe that Jim Jones was unaware that the truth is much worse than you think? Camron just revealed a scandal that will leave you stunned. What happens when the people you trust turn against you in the most public way possible? When everything you've worked so hard to build comes tumbling down? This isn't just another celebrity scandal, it's the scandal of the year. Are you prepared to be completely taken aback? The situation became more complicated over the days that followed, and the public became fixated on it. Everyone was waiting for the next piece of the puzzle to fit together, hoping that Melly would escape punishment or that the evidence against him would be too strong. Every fresh leak and rumor just served to fan the flames. The video footage that had surfaced was of a game changer, but it didn't give everyone the clarity they had hoped for. Although it was hazy and inconclusive, it showed two figures in a car that might have been Melly and his alleged co-conspirator Bortlin, but it was impossible to identify them with certainty because of the lack of specific details. Was this the decisive proof that would vindicate Melly's name, or was it merely more evidence to cast doubt on the case? The prosecution wasn't backing down either, so they seized on the footage, pointing out that even though it might not be entirely clear, it still placed Melly at the scene at a crucial moment. The defense team, however, seized on this uncertainty, arguing that the footage was too ambiguous to have any real weight in court, and that it was just another attempt to mislead the jury and sow doubt, a strategy meant to influence public opinion, rather than present a factual account of the events. Even more concerning for Melly's defense was the disclosure of his background, as other former acquaintances came forward to say that Melly had made covert threats prior to the killings. Was this the attitude of an innocent guy, or did it imply something much darker, as if things couldn't get much worse? Melly had voiced rage and annoyance over being misled, and some even said that he had threatened to take matters into his own hands if things didn't go his way. Portland. Finally, Melly's longtime buddy and co-defendant made contact. For weeks, there had been reports of a potential plea agreement, and in a startling turn of events, it appeared to be imminent. In exchange for testifying against Melly, Bortland was negotiating a lighter sentence with the prosecution, according to confirmation from his defense team. This was a catastrophic blow to Melly's case, since Bortland had been his final line of defense for his tale. Now that he could be turning against him, the prosecution had an insider who knew exactly what had happened before the killings, and the courtroom was on fire. There was a noticeable tension. Bortland's actions sparked a surge of conjecture and anxiety over whether Melly's defense would finish, or whether his best buddy was going to turn on him in exchange for a lower punishment. The Free Melly movement appeared to be waning as more and more people began to doubt his innocence. But the rapper's admirers were shocked when a whistleblower, a former member of his inner circle, came forward and said they had first-hand knowledge of Melly's involvement in the killings. The whistleblower, who was given anonymity for their safety, claimed to have been involved in the events that followed the murders and to have seen Melly throw away evidence. They also said that Melly had told them the specifics of the deaths in private talks. The whistleblower's evidence was shocking, since it appeared to validate the darkest suspicions about Melly's culpability. The defense attempted to dismiss the whistleblower by saying they were only a resentful ex-partner seeking financial gain and publicity, but the testimony and the expanding list of witnesses opposing every fresh piece of evidence, Melly was beginning to construct a worrisome image of the walls closing in on him until the last blow arrived. An audio recording of a conversation between Melly and his lawyer that was released suggested a plea agreement. Melly talked about the potential of entering a guilty plea to lesser charges in order to avoid receiving a life sentence and voiced anxiety about the case's result. The prosecution wasted no time in using the recording as evidence that Melly knew he was guilty and was attempting to evade the consequences by striking a deal. If Melly was genuinely considering a plea deal, it would indicate that he was willing to admit guilt which could be sufficient to permanently change the jury's verdict. Naturally, the defense disputed the recording's veracity, but by that point, the harm had been done. Melia's supporters were devastated, and the public was now doubting every aspect of her case. While some people persisted in supporting him and asserting that the system was biased against him, others began to question whether the evidence was credible and whether Melia was truly capable of the crimes for which he was charged. As the trial came to a close, everyone's only concern was whether Melia would be released from prison or face life in prison. The court case was now a worldwide event. The world appeared to be watching for the final verdict as the case reached its climax, but the most shocking development came in the form of Melia's statement to the court during the final stages of the trial. Social media was exploding with every new update, every new leak, and every new twist, and celebrities and influencers weighed in, giving their opinions on Melia's guilt or innocence. His testimony was filled with emotion. He denied any involvement in the murders and insisted that he was innocent. He spoke about his upbringing, his struggles, and how he had always tried to do the right thing. The moment was raw, emotional, personal, and it seemed to sway some people in the courtroom. But was it? Enough could. Melia's impassioned plea to the court actually be enough to convince a jury that he was innocent? The world would soon find out. As the trial came to an end, the jury deliberated, the world held its breath. Would Melia be found guilty, or would he walk free, a free man once? Again, despite the overwhelming evidence against him, whatever the outcome, one thing was certain: this case had changed everything. The saga of Y.W. Melia wasn't just about a murder trial, it was about a system, a celebrity, and the world of fame and fortune colliding in ways no one had ever expected. The stage was set for the final act. Would the truth ever come to light? Only time would tell. So, what happens when the secrets start to spill, when the truth hits the fan, and suddenly you find yourself at the center of a scandal you can't control? Well, we're about to find out. Because the drama unfolding between Jim Jones and Chrissy, Lampkin isn't just about personal betrayal. Oh no, this is a full-on public meltdown.